Welcome back to Small Caps, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Kerry Stevenson. Today I'm speaking with Adrian Smith. He is the Managing Director of K-TIG. Now, K-TIG's ASX code is KTIG, and if you didn't know what K-TIG stood for, it's keyhole, tungsten, inert gas. I'm so excited I got that right. I did get that right, didn't I, Adrian?
Absolutely, Kerry. You're going wonderful.
Great to see you. It's been a while since we've had a chat. So first up, before we get into the details of lots of good news that you've got coming out, give our community a brief background on who are K-TIG.
Okay, so K-TIG is basically a welding technology company. It's based in Adelaide, although it has operations here in the US where I am right now and in Europe. We are basically commercialising some technology developed originally by CSIRO on keyhole TIG welding, hence the name K-TIG, which is a really novel and innovative way to do very high quality welds of thicker pieces of steel, and has huge productivity advantages to industry.
Is that unique to you, the K-TIG process, and is it patented? In other words, for people listening, is it very special, that something other people can't do?
Well, CSIRO invented keyhole TIG welding. There are other forms of keyhole welding, keyhole plasma, for instance, that are well established in the industry, but they're not the same quality and they don't have the same productivity that we do. So yeah, we hold patents across the world for the very specific type of work that we do. There are copycats, people who are trying to use the same types of principles, but we're several years ahead of them, and our performance in every benchmark has been much better.
For customers, why should they use your style of welding? Does it help with costs? Is there a reason that they should go, let's go K-TIG and not other sort of welding products?
Sure. Well, fundamentally, it's a different technique. So if you look at the spectrum of welding, TIG welding is the high quality welding, so the very high performance thing. But it's only, traditional TIG is only suitable for welding a bead root of maybe 1 or 2 millimeters, whereas we can go, 10 millimeters, 16 millimeters, depending on the type of material. And so we can do a thicker piece of steel in a single pass with much less preparation, and that has huge cost savings.
Huge cost savings. All right. So what's you guys have been doing on a growth strategy? And you mentioned you're based in Adelaide, but you're currently in the US. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're working with technology here a little bit. What's the latest news with K-TIG? Have you been expanding into the US? What's the growth of sales like?
Yeah, well, I'm in the US at the moment visiting our operations. We have 2 offices here in the US, one in Houston, which works closely in the oil and gas and the pipelines industry. Okay. And we have sales and technical people down here. And we have another office in Pennsylvania, up in Pittsburgh. And that's our main office, where we have our facility and our administration and tech support works out of there. So I'm really over here visiting them, visiting some of our key clients, and just getting to get a feel more of the land. But yeah, we're very happy with the way the US has been running and the growth potentials here. I've just arrived yesterday from spending some time in the UK and in France, again, visiting customers, visiting our team over in the UK, and importantly, inking some deals which we announced last week in the nuclear industry.
That's a big area. But before we get into your new deals in the nuclear industry, there's a little bit of uncertainty out there at the moment, Adrian. Obviously, we've got Russia-Ukraine issues. You just mentioned you've been in the UK. You've got deals happening in Europe. Is there any impact because of the uncertainty over there on your business?
Look, we're certainly seeing an elongation of the time between a decision being made at the technical level that this is the right technology for us and the management CapEx expenditure. I believe that there's a trend to hold back or be more careful with capital expenditure across companies. And that is definitely elongating the time from the deal to actually turn into a revenue opportunity. But I have to say that there is more and more need for automated welding technologies due to labour shortages globally, and we're seeing much more interest in the product. So what happens is, people who are welding today, vast majority of people are welding manually, and you can't get skilled welders. It's an aging workforce. There's a lot less mobility in the world at the moment in terms of people moving around because of the COVID and the hangback from COVID. And so people are now having to they just can't get the labour to do the work that they would do. So they're having to change the way they do it. And as soon as they go to say, right, well, we've got to change, we've got to go to automation, they then say, okay, well, what is the state of the art? And then they find us, and that's when we get the opportunities. So our pipeline is better than it's ever been. We've got more high quality leads and discussions that we're talking to, but there is definitely a elongation of the time it takes from the technical assessment to the placement of order. Okay, so
your quarterly's just come out. I want to talk about your quarterly, and then I want to go into the nuclear strategy, if you like. So
sure.
Talk to us about the quarterly. This has come out right now. What are the numbers like?
We're very pleased. There was a bit of a slowdown in the last quarter, as I've sort of indicated, but over year on year, it was well over 200% annual growth. We're very pleased with that. In terms of going forward, as I said, the pipeline and the deals that could have flicked into the last month of the last quarter are flicking into early this quarter type thing. So we're not unhappy with where we are with the gear. We're seeing an uptick in line with our strategy of selling more than just the torch, which is what we do now, basically a welding system and torch base, which is our unique technology, and more into the turnkey system. So we're seeing higher value sales projecting for the next year, looking at the pipeline and where it is. So we're really pleased with those results. And as I said, our core business is getting very close to being cash flow positive. We are, of course, making a large number of investments in the nuclear and in the defence and in the expansion of our company, which means overall the company is still consuming cash. But in terms of like our core operations, which is the selling and making, we're getting very close to break even. And we expect to go cash flow positive this year.
Well, that'll be music to shareholders' ears, cash flow positive this year. When I last spoke to you, Adrian, the Hanwha deal had just started. I'd like to know, just give us an update on how that's going, and is that growing? How important is that to the overall strategy for KTIG?
Well, Hanwha is part of our overall defence strategy. So the Hanwha discussions and work that we're doing with them, we're moving to the next phase. So we basically have finished the laboratory phase where we've been able to prove that our technology can weld stronger and tougher armour. And that's important, that's of interest. We're now moving into the next phase of the project, which is really to build scale models of real components as opposed to coupons and just welds. And well, for want of a better term, blowing them up to prove it in an application space. So we're working in a partnership with fabricators and Hanwha and putting the details of that all together at the moment. In the broader defence context within Australia, we're doing a lot of work with BAE in terms of getting them and for the maritime industry and in particular the welding of pipework and copper nickel. So that's looking really good. And we're in discussions with a couple of American defence companies similarly on looking at the defence stuff and where we're going on that. So we're very pleased with where the defence is heading. Defence, as everybody knows, is a slow burn, but it's a big prize at the end.
Big prize at the end. You've got to be a little bit patient. But as you say, you've got BAE now, you've got Hanwha, and there's a lot in the pipeline. But an even bigger piece of the pie, if you like, is the nuclear sector. What is it that KTIG are doing with the nuclear industry? What's your strategy? Because I know you do a lot on the decommissioning, which is an area that I hadn't actually thought about, but also in that sort of waste management as well. So how important is that for KTIG, and how big, like if you're going to put it into silos, how much of KTIG is focused on that nuclear sector?
Yeah, I mean, nuclear is an area in the UK decommissioning that we've been working for a number of years. It is a multi-billion pound opportunity.
Wow.
Basically England is, or the UK is quite advanced on a global scale in terms of decommissioning. It was one of the very early adopters of nuclear energy, and it's one of the very earlier decommissioning as the plants have got older quicker. So it's got quite an active decommissioning industry, and where they're pulling apart 17 nuclear sites, and they've got to get rid of all that waste and store it permanently. There is a particular application where the Nuclear Advanced Manufacturing Research Centre has been using our technology for some time and recommending it for welding of what they call intermediate level waste containers. These are basically 3 cubic metre stainless steel boxes that they basically put general waste into and then store for the next 100 years underground. That's the plan. You could not get a more perfect application for our technology than what these are. The materials that they use are absolutely perfect for what we do. The sizes and thicknesses of the materials, the joint geometries all lend themselves to all the advantages that we have over something like plasma welding or normal MIG or TIG welding. So, it's something that a lot of work's been going into for a number of years. We have customers who are producing these boxes using our technology out there now. And we announced some time ago that we intend to aggressively get into that business. Now, we see ourselves in the future as a actual fabricator. Is to have an arm of the KTIG business that fabricates, which gives us access to those, hundreds of millions of pounds annual revenues type from that sort of gear. So we've been working towards that. The announcement we made last week was actually a very important part of that step, where we have reached an agreement with Darchem, who are a fabricator of these boxes, to novate their contract to us. Now, all of this is, of course, subject to the end customer agreeing to a novation. After all, it is their contract, and there's a whole process to go through for that. But we're quietly confident that that will come to a resolution that's suitable. And we will be looking, and again, we're talking to a number of parties, but we are looking to acquire a fabricator who has the skill sets and the capabilities to be able to deliver on that. Now, what that gives us, importantly, is a production facility to develop up our technology in our second pillar, which is what we call our enhanced products, to actually be able to demonstrate those in an application field and then make those available to the world. Plus, obviously, it gives us access to that, multi-billion pound opportunity over a number of years.
Yeah, you said just then you're going to acquire a fabricator. So you're going to go out and buy one, and that will become, I guess, a division of KTIG. Is that what you meant by that?
Yeah, either acquire or form a joint venture. I did use the word acquire, but we're not ruling out joint ventures, of course, to do that. So there'll be a fabrication division, if you like, of KTIG, which will be separate from the technology division and the sales organisation, but that will give us a whole bunch of capabilities to trial technologies and to develop new product into the applications that will then make available across the board to all of our customers.
Going back to the quarterly, you said that year-on-year growth, 200%, you're very happy with that. I just want to understand, I think we all want to understand where that growth is coming from. Is it from the decommissioning, the nuclear side of the business? Or no? That's what I want to understand, because
that 200 growth is our pure bread and butter business. So we think about our business as 3 pillars.
Okay.
We call our bread and butter, which is selling the torch and controller and power supply technologies. It's a circa $100,000 sale per unit, and we're selling those out to the industry. Now, we're doing that through two primary channels: our direct sales force, which are going out there and selling it, and we have people in the EU, in the USA, and of course in Australia. and through our distributor networks, our partners who go out there and sell turnkey systems to their end customers, incorporating our technology. So that is that's our core business. All of the virtually all of the revenue has come from that in to date. Okay. Our second pillar is our product growth strategy, and that is for us actually to move away from just selling the welding torch technology into the market, but adding in a whole bunch of advanced welding features and also turnkey systems, us actually white labeling effectively some of our partners and building systems that can do standard things. You know, that gives the revenue per sale up by a factor of 2 to 5, depending on the application of where we're going, and moving in towards a Lego-like, if you like, plug and play set of options over and above our torch that are integrated into our system controllers to give anybody the ability to build more complex systems more simply. And we see that as a way of differentiating ourselves from the general welding supplier community. So that's our second pillar. And then our third pillar is to do some very specialist niche fabrication capabilities through subsidiary companies that we would own. Nuclear is the first of those, defence is another one, and we believe hydrogen is the third opportunity on a global basis.
Oh, wow. So the hydrogen market's in your sights as well.
Absolutely. Hydrogen has a lot of the same issues that nuclear and defence have. It's exceedingly high quality. It's highly regulated. Safety is number one. And you pay a premium for excellent welds.
So in terms of, I guess the company growth itself, it sounds to me like the bread and butter's there. It's giving you growth. You're going to be cash flow positive. But the big whale, the big ones out there are nuclear and defence, which are a little bit further down the road. So the growth, I guess what I'm looking for is the growth hasn't fully started yet. Would that be right?
Oh, absolutely. So, we've got growth in our core business. As we said, we're expecting for that core business element of it to go cash flow positive this year. And we're very pleased with that. But we will continue to make our investments. Nuclear, given the progress and the announcement that we made, it's not inconceivable that we will have significant nuclear revenues in the next 12 months. But we're still we're pouring in a lot of investment into the acquisition will consume a lot of investment going forward in that. And our product expansion pillar is something that we've been working on, and we expect to see revenues from that coming into this coming year and continuing to grow into future years. Yeah. It's
an exciting time, Adrian. So I'm really pleased that you've come back on, because it's been just been a little while between drinks for you and I. We're running out of time. What I want to know is, let's wrap this up and give us in 3 points why you think right now is a great time for people to be sitting up and taking notice of KTIG. I think you've outlined it really well, but I kind of want to just summarize it so it's easier for people to understand where the growth is.
Yeah, look, I think it is reiterating those 3 points I've been making. I mean, the first one is our core business. Our core business is about to move from being a growth stock into, a revenue-generating stock. A profit-generating stock, cash thing. So we think that's an exciting time. We're at that tipping point, and we think that the future looks great from that point of view. The second pillar is our product expansion. We're going to move the average sale value up significantly. And we think that will have major revenues going forward. It will also allow us to not only differentiate our product, but to protect it into the future from the copycats and the Me Toos, which inevitably will come in terms of where we're going. And then the third one is nuclear. We are on the cusp of transforming the business in terms of revenues by orders of magnitude. And it's a pretty exciting time to be involved.
Well, I'm so glad you came back and had a chat with us. Let's not leave it so long. Come back in a few months' time. And I really like the sound, that nuclear division, I guess. It sounds like it could be many multiples and increase that quarterly report in the next not the next quarter, but coming up. So well done, Adrian. It's been great to see you, and we look forward to seeing you again in the near future. Thanks for joining me on Small Caps.
Thanks, Kerry. It's always a pleasure.